Committed action and goal setting. Hello and welcome to the Let Your Values Be Your Guide program. This is a 5-week program aimed to help people like you who are in cardiac and pulmonary rehab make meaningful and long-lasting lifestyle changes. We will accompany you on this journey where you will learn about your personal values or what's important to you and figure out ways to incorporate these in your day-to-day. You will also learn about practicing acceptance and compassion or kindness for yourself. With each topic, you will encounter something new, and we encourage you to approach the content and exercises with openness and curiosity. We will be there to help you in case you need any clarification or support. We appreciate you taking part in this program. One thing we know is that cardiac and pulmonary rehab is all about making changes. And sometimes those changes can be pretty difficult, especially when they don't necessarily fit with what's important to you right here and right now. Sometimes in life, we have other things that are going on that we would rather focus on or prioritize. So during this program, we're going to reflect on your goals and what's important to you and figure out ways to help you practice acceptance and compassion. For today's topic, we're going to be talking about committed action and goal setting. During today's class, we're going to reflect on your values or what's most important to you and talk about ways that our values drive our actions and motivates us towards our goals. During this, we want to remind you to refer back to your workbook, especially back to page 12, and decide what values you want to choose to focus on. Remember, if you have any questions about the workbook, please let someone on our team know, and we'll help you as best as we can. During today's class, we will also be talking about ways to cope with the exhaustion and the pain that often comes with living with a chronic illness, without letting that chronic illness get in the way of your life goals. And then thirdly, we will talk about how to make a plan of action when you're ready to make a change. Many of you are being asked to make big changes in your life, such as eating healthier and exercising more. This is all part of cardiac and pulmonary rehab, which is all about making changes. Some of these changes may come easy to you. However, some of these changes may not come easy, especially if those changes that you're making feel unpleasant or cause you any kind of discomfort. For example, exercising can cause you to feel out of breath, or your heart to beat faster, which can feel scary and uncomfortable to some. It's also hard to make those changes if they don't necessarily fit with your personal values or what's important to you today. Sometimes things are going on in our life, again, that we would rather prioritize. So what are values? Values are your judgment of what's going to be most important and fulfilling to you. Your values come from your life experiences, and your values guide what's going to feel meaningful, enjoyable, and fulfilling. Remember, refer to the list of values that we have listed in the back of the workbook. Circle the most important or relevant to you, especially if you're having trouble identifying your own personal values or things that you find important in your life. Take a look at the back of the workbook also for some examples of valued activities or activities that go along with those personal values. When we think of valued activities, they can include things like socializing with friends, intimacy with a spouse or a romantic partner, going to work, playing with children or grandchildren, being involved in community events, and even exercising. We want you to take a moment to think about if there is anything that you value that you feel like you have put on hold due to your chronic illness. Try and think of 3 valued activities that would help you live according to those values that you have put on hold. Here are some questions to consider as you're trying to think of the values that you would like to focus on during this program. Take a moment to reflect on what you find most important to you. Think of if there are any neglected areas in your life that you would like to focus on. In other words, things that maybe you've put on hold due to your chronic illness. Consider what kind of a person you'd like to be. How would you like to be regarded as a friend, a family member, community member? And how would you like to see yourself, despite having the challenges of living with a chronic illness? Ask yourself, how does attending rehab support my larger goals in life? In other words, why keep coming? And then ask yourself, what is one activity that ties your personal values with your goal of coming to CVPR, or cardiac and pulmonary rehab? For example, walking with family members can not only help you increase your exercise, but it can also help you spend time with family. While it's important to be aware of your values or what's important to you, it's also essential to translate that understanding into committed action. In other words, acting in accordance to what's most important to you. But first, we must consider the difference between our values and our personal goals. A value guides us in the direction that we are moving. A goal is a checkpoint or an accomplishment along the way. So in other words, think of a value as a compass that guides us in the direction towards our larger goal. When we've reached our goals, we know exactly when that's happened. In other words, we can check it off. But our values are the overarching reasons why that was a goal to start with. In committed action, there are 4 steps to consider. First, ask yourself, what area in your life would you like to focus on? In other words, what is a high priority for change for you? Second, ask yourself why this life area is important to you. Why do you want to focus on this goal and not another one? What are your values in that life area? In other words, why exactly is that goal important to you? 3, ask yourself what your goal is in that life area. Is this a meaningful goal that's tied to your values? And 4, what is an action or something that you can do that is important to you and helps you reach that goal? You may have found throughout your life that the things that you care about the most and the changes that are the most meaningful to you often come with the most pain and discomfort. Making big changes is not easy. Check that out with your own experience in rehab. You all are being asked to make many big changes, and those changes are not easy. In fact, many of these changes bring pain and discomfort. So why would you choose to open yourself up to that pain and discomfort? Here's an activity to show what we mean. Pause the video and take out a piece of paper and resume playing the video when you're ready. On one side, we want you to write down reasons why coming to rehab is important to you. Remember to be honest with your experience and write down what motivates you to keep coming. When you're ready, turn that piece of paper over. On the other side, write down what difficult thoughts and feelings might show up for you when you started coming to rehab. In other words, what has been hard since making these changes that have been asked of you in rehab? When you're done, take that piece of paper and look at both sides. Ask yourself, am I willing to have this paper, both sides of it, in its totality? Or would I choose to walk away from it? Because it's a package deal. You can't have one side without the other. It's easy to lose sight of your priorities when dealing with a difficult problem like managing a chronic illness. Some days, every little action takes an unbearable amount of effort. You may find yourself having limited energy to complete daily responsibilities, like getting up in the morning, doing chores, going to work, going to rehab, and maintaining your relationships. People with chronic illness are often walking this fine line between underdoing it and overdoing it. It's easy to push yourself too hard on the days that you feel good. So here are 3 steps to remember in order to pace yourself. Do what you can, push yourself, but listen to your body and rest when needed. As you're thinking of a goal that you would like to focus on over the next week, here is an acronym to help guide you in setting a goal. SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. Now let's go over that. When choosing a goal, we want to be as specific as possible. In other words, ask yourself, what exactly do you want to do? Remember, you must be able to check your checkbox whenever you've reached this goal. In other words, how would you know if you met that goal? Measurable. How will you know when you have reached your goal? Again, try and be as specific as possible and know exactly when you've reached that goal. Achievable. Ask yourself, is it in your power to accomplish this goal? We want you to pick a goal that's challenging but achievable. Realistic. Can you realistically achieve it? Ask yourself, what are the things that might get in the way? And is it possible for me to problem solve those barriers? If not, maybe it's a good idea to start with a smaller goal. Timely. When exactly do you want to accomplish it? Set a deadline for yourself. And remember, if you don't meet this deadline, that is not a failure on your part. What this means is you'll simply return to your SMART goal and reassess, what will I do differently? Ask yourself, what got in the way? It's likely that your last goal just wasn't in your power to accomplish it at that time, or it wasn't realistic, or maybe some other life circumstance got in the way. You can always adjust and try again. Here is an example of SMART goal setting to help you get started. Phyllis is attending pulmonary rehab for a diagnosis of COPD. She's never really enjoyed exercising, but now her doctors are telling her that she needs to start exercising more for her health. So what is a SMART goal that could help Phyllis reach her goal of exercising more to improve her health? An example of a SMART goal could be, on 3 days this week, Phyllis plans to go for a 15-minute walk with her grandchildren. Notice that this goal is a lot more specific than just saying Phyllis wants to exercise more for her health. It's also measurable. She will know that she met this goal if she went for a walk for 3 days this week for at least 15 minutes. This goal is also timely. So Phyllis plans to be done with this goal by the end of the week. Phyllis also must consider if this goal is achievable and realistic. In other words, in order to do that, Phyllis would need to ask herself what could possibly get in the way of her achieving this goal. unless Phyllis identifies any barriers. Let's say that she decided that this is an achievable and a realistic goal for herself. Then that would in fact make this an example of a SMART goal to help guide her in exercising more to improve her health. Remember to turn to page 24 in your workbook and try and write your own example of a SMART goal that you would like to focus on over the next week. Let one of our team members know if you have any questions or need any help creating a SMART goal for yourself. As you're trying to come up with a goal for rehab, here are some questions to consider or an example that you can follow to help you as you're thinking about what goal would be most helpful. First, ask yourself, what is a specific goal that you have for yourself in rehab? For example, let's say that you want to be able to walk outside for 30 minutes this summer. Ask yourself what the values underlying that goal is. Let's say that this is important to you because you want to be able to watch your grandkids play outside. What are the actions that you will take to achieve that goal? Remember to be specific. For example, let's say you want to walk outside for 5 minutes twice this week, 10 minutes next week, and so on. Ask yourself, what might get in the way? Bad weather? Maybe sometimes you won't feel like it, or you're feeling just plain tired. When you're feeling that way, it could be useful to remind yourself that you can walk around inside the house if the weather is bad, and you can always take breaks if you don't feel like it or you're feeling tired. And if necessary, you can break down this goal even further into smaller steps, such as walking for 3 minutes outside to get the mail, sitting outside for 10 minutes each day to get used to the heat. And the smallest, most easiest step that you can begin with is putting your walking clothes next to the bed the night before. And you want to decide the time, the day, and the date that you want to take that first step. And let's say you decided on this Friday after rehab. Turn to page 25 in your workbook and go through these questions as you're trying to decide what goal makes the most sense for you that you would like to focus on over the next week. Remember, on the bottom of page 25, try to fill in some positive self-statements or things that you can say to yourself if you're having a hard time reaching your goals to help motivate yourself. Let us know if you have any questions or if you need any help creating your goal. We've reached the end of today's topic. In summary, our values are what's important to us, drives our actions, and motivates our goals. In other words, our values is the compass that guides us in the direction that we want to go. Goals are the specific ways that you intend to carry out your values. It's something that we aim for and check off once we've accomplished it. When you're setting your goals, it's important to be willing to review those goals and reassess whether the steps you're taking are still relevant and realistic. Ask yourself, is this goal important to me? And is it realistic for me to achieve it? And if I'm not able to achieve this goal, am I willing to go back to the drawing board and start with the smallest step? Remember, it's okay to start small and pace yourself. Remember, over the next week, to review your workbook and to answer the questions on your phone or paper forms. And let us know if you have any questions that we can help you with. Thank you.